I, 32F, stood across from the man I was about to marry. His name is Liam, 35M, and he was everything good in the world. The officiant was saying words about love and partnership. I felt a sense of peace settle over me for the first time in years. It felt like the final chapter of a painful book was closing, and a new, better one was beginning. The room was filled with our friends and family. Their smiling faces were a warm blur. Everything was perfect. Then a voice cut through the quiet. I object. Every head in the room turned. My heart stopped. I knew that voice. It was my ex-husband, Mark. He was standing in the back, his face a mask of smug satisfaction. My stomach twisted into a knot of ice. This was not happening. Not here. Not now. My mother-in-law-to-be, Liam's mother, gasped. My own mother looked like she was about to faint. Liam's hand found mine, his grip tight and reassuring. He looked at me, his eyes asking a silent question. Are you okay? I gave a tiny nod, though I was anything but okay. Mark started walking down the aisle. He walked slowly, deliberately, enjoying the shock and confusion on everyone's faces. He was not invited. He was not supposed to be here. He was supposed to be a ghost from my past, a memory I had worked so hard to put behind me. Diana, his mother, was in the third row. I caught her eye for a split second. She had a strange, triumphant gleam in her eyes. She knew he was going to do this. A cold dread washed over me. They had planned this together. Mark, what are you doing here? I asked. My voice was surprisingly steady. I am here to stop a mistake, he announced to the whole room. Liam deserves to know who he is really marrying. Clara has a secret, a big one. The guests murmured. I could feel their eyes on me, 100 questions hanging in the air. My perfect day was turning into a public spectacle, a nightmare orchestrated by the man I once loved and his enabling mother. I felt a surge of anger so hot it nearly choked me. But I pushed it down. I would not let him see me crumble. I had to stay in control. Liam spoke then, his voice firm and clear. You need to leave. Now. Mark just laughed. It was a hollow, ugly sound. Not until everyone hears the truth, he said, holding up his phone. I have proof. Proof that she is not the person she pretends to be. I looked at Liam. His face was a storm of anger, but his eyes, when they met mine, were filled with unwavering trust. That trust was my anchor. It was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I squeezed his hand back. I had to handle this. I had to end it, not just for today, but forever. The officiant looked completely lost. He cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a short break, he suggested weakly. No, I said, my voice ringing out in the sudden silence. I let go of Liam's hand and took a step forward, facing my ex-husband directly. There will be no break. If Mark has something to say, he should say it. But he should also be prepared for the consequences. The story of this moment did not begin at the altar. It began years ago, in a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. Mark and I had been married for 5 years. They were 5 years of me cleaning up his messes. He was a dreamer, he said. He had big ideas that were always just about to pay off, but they never did. He lost jobs. He made bad investments. He borrowed money from friends and family that I always had to pay back. I worked hard at my job. I was careful with money. I built a life for us, a stable foundation that he was constantly trying to shake apart with his recklessness. The house we lived in was mine. I had bought it with an inheritance from my grandmother before I even met him. That was a point of contention for him. He always called it our house, but he knew it was not. Legally, it was mine alone. When we divorced, it was messy. He fought for everything, even things he had no right to. He wanted half the value of my house. The court laughed at that. The divorce decree was clear. He got his personal belongings and a small settlement that I offered out of a sense of pity, a final payment to get him out of my life. But he had nowhere to go. He pleaded with me. He said he just needed a few months to get on his feet. He had a new job lined up, he said. A big opportunity. It was the same story I had heard 100 times before, but I was tired of fighting. I was already emotionally drained from the divorce. You can stay in the house, I told him, but not for free. You will sign a rental agreement. You will pay rent. My lawyer thought I was crazy. Clara, this is a mistake, she warned me. He will take advantage of you. It is just for a few months, I insisted. It is better than having him couch surfing with friends and telling everyone I threw him out on the street. So my lawyer drew up an agreement. It was a simple month-to-month lease. The rent was far below market value, another concession I made out of pity. But my lawyer was smart. She included several clauses that she called protections. One was about property damage, another was about illegal activities, and then there was the one I barely paid attention to at the time. It was a clause about behavior. It stated that the tenant could be evicted with 24 hours' notice if he engaged in any activity that brought the property owner into public disrepute or caused significant personal or professional humiliation. It is a long shot, my lawyer had said, but it is good to have in your back pocket. I signed it. Mark signed it. He probably did not even read the fine print. He just saw a cheap place to live. He moved into the guest room, and I moved into a small apartment closer to my work. I tried to forget he existed. Then I met Liam. He was the opposite of Mark in every way. He was kind, responsible, and honest. He had a steady job. He respected my boundaries. He listened to me. When I told him about my marriage to Mark, he did not judge me. He just held my hand and said, I am so sorry you went through that. Our relationship grew quickly. We fell in love. When he proposed 6 months later, I said yes without a moment's hesitation. I was finally happy. I was finally moving on. I told Mark I was getting married. I told him he would need to find a new place to live by the end of the month after the wedding. I gave him plenty of notice. I thought he would be fine with it. He had been living there for almost a year by then. Surely he had saved up enough to get his own apartment. He did not take the news well. You are just throwing me out, he said over the phone. Mark, it has been a year, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. This was always a temporary arrangement. Liam and I are going to start our lives together. We might want to sell the house. So you are kicking me out for him, he sneered. Does he know what you are really like, Clara? Does he know all your secrets? I do not have any secrets, I said, my patience wearing thin. This conversation is over. You have 2 months' notice. That is more than generous. I hung up the phone. I thought that was the end of it, but it was only the beginning. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with a strange, low-level tension. Mark started calling me at all hours. Sometimes he would just breathe into the phone. Other times he would make vague threats. You will regret this, he would whisper. You will see. I told Liam about the calls. He was worried. Maybe we should get a restraining order, he suggested. No, I said. That will just make him feel important. He is just trying to get a reaction. If I ignore him, he will stop. I truly believed that. I believed his threats were just the pathetic ramblings of a man who could not stand to see me happy. I underestimated him. I underestimated how far he would go. The first real sign that something was seriously wrong came about 3 weeks before the wedding. I was clearing out an old email account, one that Mark and I had shared when we were married. I rarely used it anymore, but I wanted to make sure I had saved any important documents before deleting it for good. That is when I saw it. An email with the subject line, Invoice for services rendered. It was from a company I had never heard of. Discreet Investigations, LLC. My curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. It was an invoice addressed to Mark. The service listed was spousal surveillance, subject Clara Miller. The dates covered the past 2 months. The total was several $1,000s. My blood ran cold. He had hired a private investigator to follow me. to dig up dirt on me. He was trying to find something, anything, to use against me. He was so desperate to ruin my happiness that he was willing to spend thousands of dollars he did not have to do it. The pity I had felt for him evaporated in that moment. It was replaced by a cold, hard anger. He was not a sad, heartbroken man struggling to get back on his feet. He was a snake. He was actively trying to sabotage my life. I immediately went to my filing cabinet and pulled out the rental agreement. I read it over and over again, my eyes scanning for the clauses my lawyer had insisted on. And there it was, in black and white. The disrepute clause. The tenant shall not engage in any activity, public or private, which could reasonably be expected to bring the property owner into public disrepute or cause the owner significant personal or professional humiliation. The penalty for breaching this clause was stark. Immediate termination of the tenancy, with a 24-hour notice to vacate the premises. I sat there for a long time, the invoice in one hand and the rental agreement in the other. He thought he was hunting me. He had no idea that he had just handed me the weapon I needed to end this for good. My first instinct was to call him and scream at him, to tell him I knew what he was doing and to kick him out of my house immediately. But I stopped myself. If I did that, he would just become more erratic. He would still try to ruin the wedding. He would just do it from a different angle. No, I had to be smarter than him. I had to let him think he was in control. I needed to know what he thought he had found. I needed to understand his plan before I could dismantle it. I called him the next day. I kept my voice as neutral as possible. "Mark, we need to talk," I said. "I have nothing to say to you," he said coldly. "I think you do," I replied. "You have been acting strange lately. You are making threats. What is going on?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then he chuckled. "You will find out soon enough," he said. "You cannot just erase me, Clara. You cannot just pretend our marriage never happened and ride off into the sunset with your perfect new man." "This is not about erasing you," I said, my grip tightening on the phone. "This is about me moving on with my life. Something you seem incapable of doing." "Oh, I am moving on," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "I am just making sure everyone knows the truth about you first." "Does Liam know everything, Clara? Does he know what you did while we were still married?" My heart hammered against my ribs. What was he talking about? I had never been unfaithful to him. My life was an open book. "I do not know what you are talking about," I said. "There is nothing to know." "We will see about that," he said. "At your wedding. It is going to be a day to remember." He hung up. I stood there, my mind racing. What truth did he think he had? The private investigator must have found something. Or more likely, he found nothing. And Mark was twisting something innocent into something ugly. I needed to know more. I needed to understand what was happening inside his camp. That meant I had to do something I dreaded. I had to talk to his mother, Diana. Diana had never liked me. She saw me as the woman who was holding her brilliant son back. In her eyes, all of his failures were my fault. I was not supportive enough. I was not patient enough. I did not understand his genius. Our divorce had only hardened her opinion of me. She saw it as me abandoning him in his time of need. I called her and put on my most pleasant voice. "Diana, hello, it is Clara." "Clara," she said, her tone icy. "To what do I owe this surprise?" "I wanted to talk to you about Mark," I said. "I am worried about him." "Are you?" she said, her voice laced with disbelief. "That is a first." "He is not taking my wedding well," I continued, ignoring her jab. "He has been saying some strange things. He mentioned revealing some kind of secret. I was just wondering if you knew what he was talking about." There was a slight hesitation on her end. "I am sure it is just his broken heart talking," she said smoothly. "You have to understand, Clara. It is very difficult for him to see you move on so quickly with someone else. A little compassion would not go amiss." She was stonewalling me, but her tone gave her away. It was too rehearsed, too calm. She knew exactly what he was planning. She was in on it. "He is threatening to disrupt the wedding, Diana," I said, letting a bit of an edge creep into my voice. "That is more than just a broken heart. That is malicious." "Well, maybe if you had not been so cruel as to throw him out of his home, he would not be so upset," she retorted. "It is my home, Diana," I said, my patience gone. "And he is a tenant who has been given more than enough notice to leave. One last time, do you know what he is planning?" "I think you should be more concerned with your own actions than with Mark's," she said. "The truth has a way of coming out, you know." She hung up on me. The conversation confirmed my worst fears. This was a coordinated attack. They had a plan, and they were confident it would work. They were going to try to humiliate me at my own wedding in front of everyone I cared about. The anger I felt was so pure, so clarifying. All the years of me protecting him, covering for him, making excuses for him, were over. The lingering guilt I felt about the divorce, the tiny voice in my head that sometimes wondered if I could have done more, went silent. They had declared war, and I was going to finish it. I called my best friend, Sarah. She was my maid of honor. I told her everything. The strange calls from Mark. The invoice from the private investigator. The conversation with Diana. "That is it," Sarah said, her voice tight with fury. "You are calling your lawyer right now and you are kicking him out of that house. Today." "No," I said. "Not yet." "What do you mean, not yet?" she practically yelled. "Clara, he hired a PI to follow you. He is plotting with his mother to ruin your wedding. The time for being nice is over." "I know," I said. "But if I kick him out now, I will be fighting a battle on two fronts. He will still have whatever secret he thinks he has, and he will be even more desperate and unpredictable. I need to know what his weapon is before I can disarm him." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "So what is the plan?" she asked. "Are you just going to let him show up and blow everything up?" "No," I said, looking at the rental agreement still sitting on my table. "I am going to let him walk right into a trap he does not even see. He is so focused on his plan to hurt me that he has forgotten all about his own vulnerabilities. And his biggest vulnerability is that house." "The disrepute clause," Sarah said, catching on immediately. "Exactly," I said. "He is going to stand up in the middle of my wedding and execute his plan. And in doing so, he will be breaching his lease agreement in the most public way imaginable. I am going to evict him. Not next week, not tomorrow. I am going to do it right then and there." Sarah was silent again. Then she let out a low whistle. "Clara, that is brutal. I love it." "I need your help," I said. "I am going to need someone to coordinate things on the day." "Whatever you need," she said without hesitation. "I am with you." The next step was to find out what Mark's investigator had found, or what Mark thought he had found. Trying to guess was pointless. I needed facts. I could not fight him if I was blind. I did something I never thought I would do. I hired my own private investigator. Sarah knew a guy, a former police detective who was now in the business. He was discreet, professional, and very, very good at his job. I met with him in a coffee shop far from my neighborhood. I told him the whole story. I gave him Mark's name, his mother's name, and the name of the investigation firm he had used. "I need to know two things," I told the investigator, whose name was Mr. Jones. "First, I need to know what, if anything, his PI found on me. Second, I want to know everything about what Mark has been doing for the past 6 months. His finances, his social life, everything." Mr. Jones nodded slowly, taking notes. "This sounds like a messy one," he said. "Are you sure you want to open this door? Sometimes it is better not to know." "I am sure," I said. "He is trying to ruin my wedding. I need ammunition to fight back." "Understood," he said. "I will be in touch." The next week was agony. Every phone call made me jump. Every email notification sent a jolt of anxiety through me. I tried to focus on the final wedding preparations, but a dark cloud hung over everything. Liam could tell something was wrong. "You seem distracted," he said one evening as we were addressing invitations. "I am just stressed," I lied. "There is so much to do." I hated lying to him, but I did not want to burden him with the full extent of Mark's scheme. Not yet. I wanted to have a solution in hand before I told him the problem. I wanted to show him that I could handle it, that my past would not poison our future. Mr. Jones called me 4 days later. "I have something for you," he said. "Can you meet?" We met at the same coffee shop. He slid a thick manila envelope across the table. "It is all in there," he said, "but I will give you the summary." He leaned forward. "First, his investigator found nothing on you. Your life is, forgive me for saying so, remarkably clean. You go to work, you go to the gym, you spend time with your fiancé. There are no secret meetings, no suspicious calls, nothing. The report they gave your ex-husband was likely very disappointing for him." A wave of relief washed over me. So he had nothing. But then why was he so confident? "So what is his plan?" I asked. "What is the secret he is going to reveal?" Mr. Jones sighed. "This is the ugly part," he said. "He did not find anything, so he decided to create something. During your marriage, about 3 years ago, your father passed away." I flinched. The memory was still raw. "Yes," I said quietly. "In the weeks after his death, you exchanged a series of emails with an old friend from college, a man named David." I remembered. David had lost his own father a year earlier. He reached out to me when he heard the news. We had emailed back and forth for a few weeks, sharing memories, talking about our grief. It was a lifeline for me during a very dark time. It was completely platonic. "Mark found those emails on your old shared laptop," Mr. Jones continued. "He has taken them out of context. He has edited them, cutting out the parts about your father, about your grief. He has pieced together phrases to make it sound like you were having an emotional affair. He plans to read these doctored emails at your wedding." I felt sick. He was going to use my grief for my dead father as a weapon against me. He was going to twist one of the most painful moments of my life into a lie to hurt me. It was a new low, even for him. "That is monstrous," I whispered. "It gets worse," Mr. Jones said, his expression grim. "You also asked me to look into his finances." He opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of bank statements and photographs. He has not been saving money to get a new place. He has been spending it lavishly. He took a trip to the Bahamas last month with a new girlfriend. He bought a new car. He has been liquidating assets that he hid from you during the divorce, cashing out some old bonds he never declared. The pictures showed Mark and a woman I did not recognize, laughing on a beach, drinking cocktails. He looked happy, carefree. All the while, he was crying poverty to me, living in my house for next to nothing, and plotting to destroy my life. "He is almost out of money," Mr. Jones concluded. "The PI fees, the trip, the car, he is broke, and he has no job prospects. My guess is that his plan is not just to hurt you. It is to break you and Liam up. He is hoping that if he ruins your new life, you will have no choice but to take him back. He does not see your house as a temporary shelter. He sees it as his safety net." It all clicked into place. The confidence, the smugness of his mother. They did not just want to humiliate me. They wanted to isolate me. They thought if they could drive Liam away, I would be so broken and ashamed that I would fall back into my old role as Mark's caretaker. They saw me as a resource, a bank account, a roof over his head. Not a person. I took a deep breath. The sickness I felt was being replaced by something else. A cold, clear resolve. I knew exactly what I had to do. "Thank you, Mr. Jones," I said, sliding the envelope into my bag. "You have given me everything I need." That night, I sat down with Liam. I could not protect him from this anymore. He needed to know. I laid everything out for him. The PI Mark hired, the doctored emails about my father, the financial lies, the plan to ruin our wedding. He listened patiently, his expression growing darker with every word I spoke. When I was finished, he was silent for a long time. I held my breath, a small, irrational fear creeping into my heart. What if Mark's plan worked? What if this was too much? Then Liam reached out and took both of my hands in his. "I am so sorry, Clara," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I am sorry you have had to deal with this alone. I am sorry that man is still a part of your life." "He will not be for much longer," I said. "We will have security," Liam said, his jaw tight. "We will have him thrown out the second he shows his face." "No," I said, shaking my head. "That is not enough. Just removing him does not solve the problem. He will still be out there, trying to hurt me. His mother will still be whispering poison. I do not want to spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder. I need to end this. Permanently." I told him my plan, the rental agreement, the disrepute clause, the process server on standby, the public eviction. He looked at me, his eyes wide. "You would do that? At our wedding?" "I have to," I said. "It is the only way. He is choosing the time and place. I am just choosing the outcome. I need him and his mother to understand that there are consequences. I need them to know that I am not their safety net anymore. But I cannot do it if you are not 100% behind me. It is our day. If you think this is too much, too ugly, I will find another way." Liam looked at our joined hands. He was quiet for another long moment. Then he looked up at me, and his eyes were filled with a fierce, protective love. "No," he said. "You are right. This is not just about him. It is about us. It is about drawing a line and protecting our future. If this is what it takes to get him out of our lives for good, then this is what we will do. I trust you, Clara. I am with you. Whatever happens." The relief was so immense it was like a physical weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I was not alone in this. We were a team. The final days before the wedding were a blur of activity, but now my actions had a sharp, clear focus. I met with my lawyer one last time. She reviewed my plan and confirmed that it was legally sound. "The contract is ironclad," she said with a grim smile. "His actions, as you have described his plan, would be a flagrant breach of the clause. The immediate eviction is perfectly defensible." She drew up the official eviction notice. It was a cold, formal document filled with legal language. It felt powerful in my hands. I arranged for a process server to be at the wedding venue. I told him to dress like a guest and to wait by the side entrance for a signal from my maid of honor, Sarah. I printed out the original, unedited emails between me and my friend David. I put them in a folder along with a copy of Mr. Jones's report on Mark's finances and the photos of his vacation. I gave the folder to Sarah. "If he starts reading his fake emails, I want you to walk up to his mother and give her this," I told her. "I want her to see the truth right before her son is publicly humiliated." Sarah nodded, her eyes shining. "Consider it done," she said. The day before the wedding, I made one last attempt to avoid the public confrontation. It was a small gesture, a final extension of the grace I had shown Mark for years. I called Diana. "Diana, it is Clara," I said. "What do you want?" she snapped. "I am giving you and Mark one last chance to stop this," I said, my voice even. "Call him off. Tell him not to come to the wedding tomorrow. I am asking you this for his sake, not for mine." She laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You are in no position to be making threats, Clara. You should be begging for our silence. You have no idea what is coming for you." "And you have no idea what you are getting your son into," I said. "You think you have all the power. You are wrong. This will not end the way you think it will." "We will see about that tomorrow," she said smugly. "I look forward to it." "So do I said, and I hung up the phone. That was it. I had given them a final off-ramp and they had refused to take it. They were so blinded by their own bitterness and sense of entitlement that they could not see the cliff they were about to drive off. The morning of my wedding, I felt strangely calm. The anxiety was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose. I got ready with Sarah and my bridesmaids. They chattered excitedly, oblivious to the drama that was about to unfold. Only Sarah knew. She would occasionally catch my eye and give me a small, supportive nod. Walking down the aisle on my brother's arm, I saw Liam waiting for me. The love in his eyes was so real, so strong. It was my shield. I saw Diana in the third row, her face smug. She caught my eye and gave me a small, malicious smile. I just looked at her, my expression blank. Your move, I thought. The ceremony began. The words flowed around me. I focused on Liam's face, on the future we were about to build together. A future free from the ghosts of my past. And then it happened. The officiant asked if anyone had any cause why we should not be joined together. And that is when Mark stood up and said, I do. The room fell silent. He walked down the aisle, a predator stalking his prey. He held up his phone, ready to begin his performance. He did not know that I was the director of this play, and he was about to discover his role was not the one he thought he had. I held up my hand, stopping the officiant, stopping everything. I faced my ex-husband, the man who was about to try and ruin my life with a handful of lies. The calm I had felt all morning settled deep in my bones. It was time. Mark, I say, and my voice is as clear as a bell in the silent room. What exactly do you think you're doing? He smirks, that familiar, arrogant smirk that I used to mistake for confidence. I am telling the truth, Clara. Something you seem to have forgotten how to do. I am here to tell Liam, and all your friends and family, about the man you were secretly emailing while we were still married. He is about to raise his phone to read from it. The doctored words, the twisted grief. You mean David? I ask, my voice conversational. My friend from college? The one who reached out to me after my father died? The smirk on Mark's face falters. This is not how he expected this to go. He expected tears, denials, chaos. He did not expect me to be calm. He did not expect me to name the man myself. You are talking about the emails where I poured out my heart about how much I missed my dad? I continue, my voice getting a little louder, a little stronger. The ones where David, who had lost his own father, offered me comfort and support? Are those the emails you were planning to read, Mark? The ones you carefully edited to make me look bad? A murmur goes through the crowd. I see Diana's face. The smugness is gone. A flicker of panic has replaced it. You are twisting things, Mark stammers. He is losing control of the narrative. No, I say, shaking my head. You are the one who twists things. You hired a private investigator to find dirt on me, didn't you? But he found nothing, because there is nothing to find. So you had to resort to this. You had to take my deepest pain and try to turn it into a weapon. I turn and look at Liam. I give him a small, sad smile. Liam already knows about those emails, Mark. I showed them to him myself. The real ones, not your edited, pathetic version. He knows I was a grieving daughter, not an unfaithful wife. Liam steps forward and puts his arm around my waist. He looks at Mark with pure contempt. I know everything, Liam says, his voice like steel. And I know what kind of man you are. Now get out. Mark is floundering now. His plan has completely unraveled. He looks desperately towards his mother. She is lying. She is manipulating all of you, he shouts, his voice cracking. Diana starts to stand up, ready to defend him, but at that exact moment, Sarah walks down the aisle. She does not say a word. She just places the folder I gave her into Diana's lap and walks back to her spot. Diana looks down, confused. She opens it. I watch as her eyes scan the first page. I see the color drain from her face. She sees the unedited emails. She sees the bank statements. She sees the pictures of Mark and his new girlfriend on a beach in the Bahamas. She sees the proof of his lies, his wastefulness, his betrayal of everyone, including her. She slumps back in her seat, defeated. Now it is time for the final act. I take a deep breath. Mark, I say, my voice dropping, becoming cold and businesslike. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the house you are living in. He looks at me, completely baffled. What does that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with this, I say. Do you remember signing a rental agreement for my house? The house that I own, and that I have been generously allowing you to live in for far less than it is worth? He just stares at me, speechless. I am sure you do not, I continue, because you never read contracts. You just sign things and expect other people to deal with the consequences. But there was a clause in that agreement, Mark. My lawyer insisted on it. It is called a disrepute clause. I take a step closer to him. It says that if you, the tenant, do anything to cause me, the owner, public humiliation, I have the right to terminate your lease. Immediately. His eyes widen. Understanding is slowly dawning on his face. The panic is starting to set in. By standing up here today, I say, my voice rising so everyone in the room can hear me clearly. By trying to destroy my wedding with your sick, pathetic lies, you have breached that contract in the most public way possible. I glance towards the side entrance. I give Sarah a tiny nod. She opens the door. A man in a simple suit steps inside. He is holding a large legal envelope. He is the process server. That man over there, I say, pointing directly at him, has something for you, Mark. It is an eviction notice. It is legal. It is binding, and it is effective immediately. The process server starts walking towards a frozen Mark. You have 24 hours to get your belongings out of my house, I say. I turn to face our stunned guests. I look past them, my eyes finding Mark's one last time. I let all the anger, all the pain, all the years of his betrayal fuel my final words to him. My voice is calm, clear, and utterly devoid of pity. You're homeless now. For a moment, there is absolute silence. The only sound is the soft footfalls of the process server walking down the aisle. Then, chaos. Diana lets out a shriek, a sound of pure fury and despair. You can't do this, she screams at me. You vicious girl, after everything we did for you. Mark finally snaps out of his shock. Clara, no, please. He whimpers, his arrogance completely gone, replaced by a desperate, pathetic panic. You can't. Where will I go? The process server reaches him and holds out the envelope. Mark just stares at it as if it is a snake. Take it, the man says, his voice impassive. Two large men in suits, the security guards Liam and I had hired for this exact possibility, appear from the back of the room. They move swiftly and professionally. One stands next to Mark, the other next to a hysterical Diana. Sir, you need to take the documents and leave the premises, one of the guards says to Mark. No, I'm not leaving, Mark yells, finally finding a spark of his old defiance. The guard does not argue. He simply takes Mark by the arm in a firm grip. Mark tries to pull away, but it is useless. The other guard is trying to calm Diana, who is now sobbing and calling me every name she can think of. This is all your fault, she wails, pointing a trembling finger at me. You ruined my son's life. No, Diana, I say, my voice carrying over her sobs. He ruined his own life. You just helped him do it. The guests are on their feet, a sea of shocked and confused faces. Some look horrified. Some look sympathetic. Liam's family looks furious. But their anger is directed entirely at Mark and Diana. Liam's father, a quiet, dignified man, stands up and points a stern finger at the door. Get them out of here, he says to the guards. That seems to be the final word. The guards efficiently escort a struggling Mark and a weeping Diana out of the hall. The process server places the eviction notice on an empty chair in the front row and then discreetly exits. The heavy doors swing shut behind them, and an awkward, ringing silence descends on the room once more. My wedding had been crashed. My deepest pains had been threatened to be aired. And I had just made my ex-husband homeless in front of 200 people. I take a shaky breath. I turn to Liam. His arm is still wrapped tightly around my waist, a solid, grounding presence. He looks down at me, his eyes full of 1,000 emotions: concern, anger, but most of all, pride. "Are you okay?" he whispers, his voice for my ears only. "I think so," I whisper back. "I think I'm finally free." I turn back to the officiant, who looks like he has aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. "I am so sorry for the interruption," I say to him, and then to our guests. "Please, take your seats. We'd like to get married now." A few people chuckle nervously. The tension in the room breaks. People start to sit down, whispering amongst themselves. The officiant clears his throat, finds his place in his book, and with a shaky smile, he continues. "As I was saying, we said our vows, and when I looked into Liam's eyes and promised to love and honor him, the words had never felt more true. We were not just starting a marriage. We were starting a life that we had just fought to protect." When he kissed me, the applause from our guests was thunderous. It was not just for a wedding. It was for a victory. The reception was a strange affair. The drama of the ceremony was the elephant in the room, but people were trying their best to celebrate with us. Liam and I made a point to visit every table. The reactions were varied. My friends were fiercely protective. "I cannot believe he did that," Sarah said, hugging me tightly. "But the way you handled it, Clara, you were a queen, an absolute queen." My family was mostly in shock, but supportive. "We are so sorry, honey," my mother said, her eyes wet with tears. "No one should have to go through that." Liam's family was incredible. His mother came up to me and took both my hands. "Clara," she said, her voice firm, "I want you to know that we are proud to call you our daughter today. What you did took immense courage. Do not ever let anyone make you feel ashamed for defending yourself." His aunt pulled me aside later. "That woman, his mother," she said, shaking her head. "To sit there and watch her son do that? Despicable. You are well rid of them both." The support was overwhelming. It solidified my conviction that I had done the right thing. I had not just been defending myself. I had been defending my new family, my new life. Later that night, when Liam and I were finally alone in our hotel suite, the adrenaline of the day finally began to wear off. I sank onto the bed, suddenly exhausted. Liam sat down next to me and wrapped his arms around me. "How are you really doing?" he asked softly. "Tired," I admitted. And a little sad that our wedding day had to have all of that ugliness. "Hey," he said, turning my face to look at him. Our wedding day was perfect. It was the day we stood together and faced down a bully. It was the day we proved that we are a team. I have never been more proud of you, or more in love with you, than I was when you stood up to him today. I leaned my head against his shoulder. I was so scared, Liam. Scared he would ruin everything. Scared you would doubt me. "Never," he said, kissing the top of my head. "There is nothing he could ever say that would make me doubt you. He showed everyone exactly who he is today. And you showed everyone who you are. A strong, brave, incredible woman who I am so lucky to call my wife." We were quiet for a while, just holding each other. The city lights twinkled outside our window. It was over. It was really, truly over. The next day, my phone started ringing. The first call was from a number I did not recognize. I hesitated, then answered. "Clara, it's me." It was Mark. His voice was hoarse, defeated. "How did you get this number?" I asked, my voice cold. "It doesn't matter. Clara, you can't do this. I have nowhere to go. Everything I own is in that house. That is a problem you should have considered yesterday before you tried to humiliate me in front of my friends and family, I said flatly. You have until 5 p.m. today to get your things. I am having the locks changed at 5:01. If your property is still there, it will be considered abandoned. But I can't move everything that fast. I need more time, he pleaded. You had a year of time, Mark, I said. You had 2 months of official notice. Instead of using that time to find a place to live, you used it to hire a private investigator and plot against me. You made your choice. Now you have to live with the consequences. Do not call me again. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. The next call was from Diana. I almost did not answer, but I decided I needed to have one final conversation with her. She did not yell this time. Her voice was low, trembling with a desperate sort of anger. I hope you're happy, Clara, she said. I am, actually, I replied calmly. I'm married to a wonderful man, and I've finally removed a toxic presence from my life. He's your family, she cried. You don't just throw family out on the street. First, I said, my voice sharp, Mark stopped being my family when the divorce was finalized. Second, you and he stopped deserving any consideration from me the moment you decided to conspire to ruin my wedding. You sat in that church and smiled at me, knowing full well what he was about to do. You are not a victim here, Diana. You are his enabler. And his current situation is as much your fault as it is his. He has nothing, she whispered. You've taken everything from him. I have taken nothing, I corrected her. I have simply stopped giving. I am no longer funding his lifestyle. I am no longer providing him with a roof over his head. He is a grown man. It is time he learned to stand on his own 2 feet. Maybe you can help him with that. Goodbye, Diana. I hung up before she could reply and blocked her number 2. I felt a profound sense of closure. The lines of communication were cut. The final ties were severed. Liam and I left for our honeymoon a few days later. We went to a quiet beach resort where we did nothing but swim, read, and talk. We talked about our future, our plans, our dreams. We never once mentioned Mark's name. It was as if a spell had been broken. He had no more power over us. When we came back, I had a voicemail from Sarah. You have to call me, she said, her voice giddy. I have gossip. I called her back immediately. What is it? I asked. Okay, so I ran into our old mutual friend, Jessica. Sarah began, and she has the full scoop on Mark. Apparently, he had to have his friends help him move his stuff out of your house in a massive panic. He couldn't afford a moving truck, so they were just shoving things into their cars. Where did he go? I asked. That's the best part, Sarah said, barely able to contain her laughter. He tried to move in with his new girlfriend, the one from the Bahamas pictures. But apparently when she found out he was broke and had just gotten himself publicly evicted, she dumped him. So now, he's living in his mother's spare room. I was silent for a moment, processing this. Mark, the man who always saw himself as a brilliant, independent thinker, was back to living in his childhood bedroom under his mother's roof. So he and Diana are together, I said. It's almost poetic. It gets better, Sarah continued. The story of what happened at the wedding is all over town. Everyone knows. Jessica said people are calling it the eviction reception. He's a total laughingstock. No one is taking his side. Everyone sees him for what he is, a bitter, pathetic man who tried to ruin his ex-wife's happiness and got exactly what he deserved. I should have felt a sense of triumph, a surge of vindictive pleasure, but I did not. I just felt nothing. He was a problem that had been solved, an error that had been corrected. His life was his own now, and it had no bearing on mine. Well, I said, I hope he and his mother are very happy together. Sarah laughed. You are a better person than I am, she said. A few weeks later, I put the house on the market. It sold quickly. Holding on to it felt like holding on to the past. Liam and I used the money from the sale, along with our own savings, to buy a new house together. A house that was ours. A house with no ghosts. Life moved on. Liam and I settled into a comfortable, happy routine. We built a life together based on trust, respect, and real partnership. The drama of the wedding faded into a story we would sometimes tell, a testament to the strength of our bond. One day, about a year after the wedding, I was at the grocery store. As I was heading to the checkout, I saw him. Mark. He was stocking shelves. He looked thinner, and the arrogant swagger was gone. He looked tired, defeated. Our eyes met for a brief second. A flicker of recognition, of shame crossed his face. He immediately looked down at the cans of soup in his hands and turned away, pretending he had not seen me. I just kept walking. I did not feel anger. I did not feel pity. I did not feel anything at all. He was just a stranger stocking shelves in a grocery store, a ghost from a life that was no longer mine. I finished my shopping, went home to the house I shared with my husband, and I never thought about Mark again. He thought his secret would be my ruin, but the only secret that got revealed that day was his own. That without me to prop him up, he was nothing. He tried to make me homeless in spirit, to leave me with nothing but shame. Instead, he ended up with nothing at all. He finally learned what it feels like to be small, and I finally learned how strong I could be when I stopped being his safety net and started being my own hero.